The tour moved away from dense Los Angeles to the south and east across the Colorado River and back into Arizona's Sonoran Desert. Everywhere you looked, the earth was hard and dry, and only the stony Tortolita Mountains punctuated the endless thorny flatlands. The landscape here is a study in progressive shades of brown, from tan to raw umber, with fleeting glimpses of color from the occasional wildflower. The rattlesnakes are still asleep in February, but it's easy to imagine them lurking in the crevices around the desert floor, blending in with the cacti and the agave plants that look like upside-down pineapples shoved into the baked soil, waiting for a golfer to take one wrong step. What green exists in this barren patch of desert is muted, beaten into drab olive by the relentless sun. The languid spirit of the desert lingers until the moment you step onto a golf course. There, the bright, verdant fairways will trigger a state of ecological shock as you wrangle with the obvious question, wait a minute, where did they get the water? On these courses, the sand traps and rough are easy enough to manufacture. Just let the desert have its way with the land, as it's done for centuries. Any spot that doesn't receive a steady supply of water becomes waste area, a dismissive term that ignores the land's stark beauty. In late winter, the yellow sunflower-like blooms of the brittle bush and the red flowers of the chuparosa serve as a bright contrast to the plants that will draw blood, the saguaro cacti and the beavertail and the jumping cholla. This is the end of the West Coast swing, and Marana was hosting its very last Accenture Match Play Championship. It wasn't a fond farewell. The company was bolting and players hated the course, and the tournament's future was a big mystery. A dull sense of duty pervaded. Let's get this over with and move on to greener pastures. The Match Play Championship had been in Marana at the clumsily named Golf Club at Dove Mountain since 2009. At 7,849 yards, the Jack Nicklaus designed course was the longest in PGA Tour history, but it wasn't the length that drove the players crazy. It was the greens. The extreme slopes earned a harsh critique from the likes of Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, and Jeff Ogilvy, and the course's response, to make them very slow in order to take away some of the downhill speed, made the uphill putts unreadable. A total overhaul in 2010 failed to resolve these issues, and the world's top players began finding excuses to stay home. The situation reached a low point in 2014 when Woods, Mickelson, and Adam Scott all dropped out of the field. For a World Golf Championship event with 64 players competing in a single elimination bracket, this was a disaster. A WGC was supposed to attract the strongest field in golf, but the game's three biggest stars, and the first, second, and fourth-ranked golfers in the world, were no-shows. Woods and Mickelson stayed mum, but Scott admitted that if the event had been held at a different course, he'd be more inclined to make the scene. The tour wouldn't officially drop the axe on Dove Mountain for several months, but this sealed its fate. The format, too, was headed for the scrap heap. The beauty of the single-elimination bracket was the pure excitement of the opening rounds. Unlike the NCAA basketball tournament, where no 16 seed has ever beaten a first seed, total chaos ruled in the match play. As of 2013, first seeds had a first-round winning percentage just over 70%, and second seeds were even lower at 60%. Upsets abounded, and the unpredictability made Wednesday, the match play is a 5-day event, the most exciting opening round on the PGA Tour calendar. The problem came in the messy aftermath. While it's thrilling to see Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy fall to no names on Wednesday, it can make for some very unexciting weekend action. This is not always true. Past finals have included Woods, McIlroy, Henrik Stenson, Ian Poulter, Martin Kamer, and Hunter Mahan. But a handful of duds had sneaked into the mix, such as 2002's Kevin Sutherland versus Scott McCarron battle, or the lackluster duel between Jeff Maggart and Andrew McGee in 1999. The entire tournament was a calculated risk, and a boring weekend made for unhappy TV executives. The best Wednesday in golf, it turns out.